Gianu, and we have a very, very special program for you today. We're back where the Kam Johal Show started at the IXL Centre with my good friend Atul Lakhani. So today we're going to talk about the wedding industry. We haven't been able to attend any of those for quite a long time, and the government sought to limit those to 15 and 30 and all sorts of numbers that really we haven't been able to cope with very well. So finally, it looks like we will be able to attend weddings. So get your dancing shoes on, and we will be partying this summer. And we're going to talk about that today with Atul. So, Atul, welcome back to the show.
It's my pleasure.
Thank
you for having me back.
Oh, that's great. So we kicked off, didn't we, in September?
Absolutely.
Outside, beautiful,
glorious day. Yeah.
Take me through what's happened, because we could never have imagined that this is what would have happened in our country, could we?
Yeah, I think if truth be told, none of us, had that 2020 vision, and I think this pandemic has sort of decimated the whole world. If we look at it, if we're realistic, and no, and you're quite right. I mean, even when we sat outside in September, we had this air of optimism that, by sort of this time, things will have settled down. But clearly, it hasn't. And, I think every now and then in life, certainly in our lifetime, we've never experienced anything like this. But perhaps this is something which has been sent to us to reset the button, I think that's the only positive thing I could think about it. And, and then we, and see how we behave in the future.
Yeah, so we've been, going through this now for a year, and as you said, it's been a year of reflection, and things have changed, and I don't know what part of life will return back to what it used to be, but we've also learned some new things. I've learned to spend a bit more time with myself, and time for reflection of life and what our purpose and all the rest of that kind of stuff is. So I think it's been peaceful on a personal level, but business, of course, has been affected massively. And, whereas I come to weddings to enjoy and it's party, it's work for you and it's your business, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is something sort of I've dedicated my professional career towards. And hence, all of a sudden, to sort of have the carpet swept from under your feet, it is a very bitter pill to swallow. Admittedly, we're quite fortunate in that we're still standing. There's many people I know who've lost their livelihoods, who've lost their hard-earned income, through this pandemic, and more importantly, having had a number of bereavements in the family. I think those people who've lost their lives, money comes and goes, as you and I both know. But that kind of, that will be the abiding memory of this pandemic for me. It's that loss of life. It's what could have been done better, how it could have been avoided. But, que sera, sera.
Yeah, 125,000 deaths and still counting, unfortunately. And as you said, I don't think there's anybody that hasn't been touched to some degree. And there's always that regret, isn't there? I have a friend of mine who lost his uncle and aunt, husband and wife, at about 75. And, although you think that's okay, but without this, there could easily be another 10, 15 years, couldn't there, for those people? And I think that will be the stories that we will be telling for many, many years to come.
Indeed. And even those people who couldn't sort of wave their loved ones goodbye. My mother-in-law died on Christmas Day. My sister-in-law passed away very recently, and I think 51, no age to go. So yes, I think there will be a long period of reflection.
Yeah, and of course we've had that, haven't we? Because as well as weddings, we have huge funerals where we all go and pay our respects, and we haven't been able to do that.
No.
So there'll be some catching up to do, won't there? And
yeah, I think there'll be a lot of memorials, in lieu of people who died, who passed away, because I think that's very poignant in terms of people not being able to pay their respects. I think you're so right. Certainly within our culture, that is a big thing where people actually, there's a guarantee that people will come and pay respects at your funeral, and often it's actually I'm not saying this is the right thing, but it's often talked about. Oh my God, there was 2,000 people at that funeral. There was 1,000 people, and but I suppose it's a cultural thing for us. So our weddings tend to be large, you know, our events tend to be large, and then any celebration and even any, you know, when there is sorrow bestowed upon us, it is celebrated, or certainly your mark of respect is paid in that same manner.
Yeah, well, we're community based, aren't we? So we do everything in the community, and we're expressive people.
Yeah.
So whereas the British resolve is that stiff upper lip, we don't have any of that. We let our emotions out. So, you know, and I think it's befitting that we talk about those of us that have lost family and friends, and we all have to some degree. But it looks like finally that, you know, the numbers are coming down, and I've had a program about vaccinations and the fact that our community is less likely to get vaccinated. And so again, I urge you, je tonu phone aaya ja tonu letter aaya bhi tusi vaccination kara lo, please karao tusi, hai na, because you won't be able to travel without it. And plus the other thing is, you know, I read a beautiful message by the Queen of this country that you're being quite selfish if you don't go, because, you know, your partners, your loved ones may need protection. So ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਆਪਣੇ ਲਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਾ ਰਹੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ it's a matter of safety that those people get vaccinated. Very, very important. I think we hit over 20 million this week.
21 million, I believe, today.
21, and if there's anything that we can congratulate our government for, it's the vaccination program.
Indeed, I think since all the spinners are no longer in, this should be a game of cricket actually, but the spinners are no longer in the government, and they know who they are.
Yeah.
I think the government is doing a remarkable job with the vaccine rollout, and indeed I'll be the first in the queue for that, because it's an absolute no-brainer. We have to, you know, from all communities, all castes, all creeds. Without that vaccination, there is no end. There is no way we will ever see. You know, I mean, people have shown a lot of resolve. People have shown a lot of commitment. And yet, you know what? We can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Definitely.
But, you know, we discussed this. And, you know, but that will only happen with us being wise. You know, don't let the guard down. I mean, this announcement about 21st of June onwards, you know, that's not a silver bullet. It's not giving us a license to say, right, we'll go, normality will be restored, because I don't feel it will. I think, you know, I mean, again, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think it's what we do between now and then which will define this pandemic.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing, hasn't it? Because what this has done is it's truly brought us all together.
Indeed.
You know, we are responsible for each other. So my irresponsible behaviour affects people around me.
Sure.
And so, you know, your message about getting vaccinated, you know, even the Queen doesn't speak about many issues. Even she was the one that said, don't be selfish.
She broke protocol there.
Absolutely. But, you know, this has been one of those situations where there are no protocols. We've never been through this before.
No.
And certainly hope in our lifetimes we never have to.
Yeah.
But look, let's move on. You know, the vaccination program's going very well. I believe about 40% of the adult population has now been vaccinated.
Yeah.
The other thing that's changed for me is all those conspiracy theorists have just died away, haven't they? You know, now I hear of people trying to jump the queue to get the vaccination. So, which is good. That's good news, right?
Yeah.
But look, let's talk about our industry. So, you know, it's a huge, huge industry. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੜਕੀ ਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਲੜਕੇ ਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਦੇ, we think we're single, but there is an industry behind this.
Indeed,
you know, when you think about all the people that are employed to put a wedding together, it's huge, isn't it? So we've got the venues, we've got the catering, we've got the entertainers, we've got the makeup artists, we've got all the clothing, we've got the transport, the photographers, and many, many more people are supported through our wedding industry.
Oh, the supply chain is enormous, you know, and over the years it's grown significantly, as you said, to become an industry in itself. You know, I mean, we've done some research on this through the Asiana magazine, and our industry is worth £5 billion.
Wow.
You know, for those who don't know what it is, 5,000 million. That's enormous. That's huge. I mean, if you think about the overall wedding industry within the UK, that's, I believe that's been calculated to be 14.7, you know.
Okay.
But, so we're a third of that. You know, Asian weddings represent a third of that industry.
Okay. So we represent something like 4 or 5% of the population in terms of, you know, from that from the Asian subcontinent. So we're punching way above our weight. But
Indeed.
of course, our weddings are far larger, far grander, than those of the host community, shall I call them.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, tell me what your thoughts were when the government was announcing things like 15 people at a wedding and 30 people at a wedding, because that was okay for certain communities, wasn't it?
If I'm honest with you, I feel totally betrayed, and I feel betrayed because we've got senior members in the cabinet who are actually of the Indian subcontinent, Asia.
Clearly.
And, they know, indeed our Chancellor, who actually has done a phenomenal job, but our Chancellor had a big fat Indian wedding himself, and he enjoyed all the splendour of it, So I think they're well aware, and I do feel very betrayed that our industry has actually been sold out. That we've lobbied, we've tried. I sit on so many boards. The amount of Zoom meetings I've had, it's been crazy.
You are actually on a task force, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So you've had a voice.
I've had how shall I say, I'm going to be diplomatic here, Cam. I've had a voice throughout, because having sort of invested so much time and effort into this, just to give you an idea, if I'd have invested the same time and effort into what I have done with the pandemic, I'd probably have doubled whatever we make, or certainly, put the business even on an even stronger footing. But the voice has, unfortunately, not been represented, certainly for the Asian weddings.
Why do you think we've got more Asians in the government than ever?
Oh no, I don't. I'm not on about the government.
But what I'm saying is we've got more Asians in the government than ever.
Yeah.
We've got a £5 billion industry.
Yeah.
Why do you think that we've not been listened to?
I think the representation. I mean, I kicked myself because there was members. So just to give you a quick update. So at the beginning of the pandemic, back in sort of June or late May, June time, there was a collective, a group of us, caterers, including all the big players from London, Manchester, the Madhus, the Ragamamas, the Satnas, the Greenleafs, the Payal, and the Lagunas. We all got together, and even some of the big brands from the Midlands, the Mahirs, the Five Rivers, we all formed a collective to actually start representing our industry. Mm-hmm. And, we did quickly try and reach out to get as many people involved as possible. And equally, people were struggling immediately because the sad thing was that the pandemic occurred on that Easter weekend, or certainly the government lockdown did. And now, traditionally for us, that is the starting point.
Of course.
That's when the bell sounds and you kick off. So there were so many people immediately faced with ruin because traditionally in our industry, the sort of December, January, February, March period is the quietest, and then you go. That's what we call the booking season.
Yes.
So that's when you're doing your wedding fairs, your exhibitions, and so on, and you accumulate a lot of bookings at that time. But unfortunately, there's a time to spend and there's a time to earn. And when the time to earn came, it was, as I said, swept from under our feet.
Wow. So. The lockdown starts, and obviously, like everybody else, you start receiving cancellations.
Yeah.
And your industry starts to come together and say, "Look, what are we going to do about this?"
Yeah.
So you bring a group of people together.
Yeah.
And they represent everybody that you can think of.
Yeah.
So, what kind of actions have you been taking? Because obviously we're friends, and I know that how you've been shouting from the rooftops. Listen to us,
Thank
please.
You. Yeah.
And you've done a great job.
Thank you.
What do you think is the learning points from what's happened here? And, could your industry have done more?
I think certainly the industry as a whole, could have done more. I think they missed a really important trick. Representing a third of the UK wedding industry, to think that I sat on the UK wedding task force as chair of, the larger weddings. And I wasn't invited to one government meeting.
Why would that be? Because
I just think it was naivety.
On whose part?
Look, the powers that be within the task force.
Right.
There was a clear opportunity.
Yeah, because you're not the sort of guy that's going to say, "Listen, leave me here. You guys go," right?
Indeed. And I'm not somebody. I'm quite vocal. I'm a second generation immigrant. We've been brought up in this country. So, I run an amazing venue. But equally, like I've said before, I'm old enough to be young enough to have my own entrepreneurial instincts, but equally, I remember our traditional values. I clearly remember all the cultural significance of our events. And I think, if you look, and there's a clear argument for this, Kam. If you look at the sector that's been supported, it's been the cultural, the arts.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And we sit firmly within that sector, within the wedding, under the genre of weddings.
Yes.
And yet, that was missed. How? Why? Representation comes in many ways. I'm not saying it had to be me. It could have been other people. There was my deputy chair, Nusrat Khan, is the most talented, amazing person I've met. And I know that she'll be a sister to me forever. And that was through commitment. The effort, the commitment that she put onto that task force. And yet again, no representation.
Did she go?
As in go, as in... Next question.
Look, it's not a political show, right?
No, indeed. But equally, I've got to emphasise, there's some fantastic people on there. There's some fantastic people, who gave up their personal time. They've worked tirelessly. They've attended meetings, 3-4 meetings in a week, Zoom after Zoom, gone away, done work in their own time while their children are there. And so, I have nothing but admiration. But I suppose the inner sanctum of decision makers, that's where I have an issue. If you're going to be a representative, by putting a tile on an Instagram of someone of ethnic origin means nothing. Do it where it counts. Do it where it counts. I'm not one to pay the race card. I never have,
No.
And in fact, when in the past growing up, and I've had people tell me, oh, I didn't get that job because of my colour. And I said, well, have you thought you may not be good enough for that job?
Yeah.
So, I think my outlook on that has always been fairly, I'm not one to play the race card.
No, look, we've had this time and time again on this programme, where I think entrepreneurs don't see colour.
No, indeed, absolutely.
Right?
I think that's
we can't
a fantastic
afford to.
phrase.
We don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
We employ the best people, and then if we don't get the job, it's not because of the colour of our skin or our
100%.
background. We just didn't get it. We need to do better.
We believe in a meritocracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I think, and I know you long enough and you know me, and you know that, my whole team is very diverse.
Yes.
My key players, are diverse because they are picked there for a reason. They're picked for their skill set, their knowledge, their ability, their empathy. Through this pandemic, I'll be honest with you, it's been such a challenging time.
Of course.
We've been caught up in a perfect storm. People think that we've had insurance money because of some recent tabloid stuff on certain insurance rulings. But the fact is, we've not had a penny. So, fantastic venues, caterers, businesses, the small printers eliminated that we didn't get business interruption. As caterers, we've not had grants because, can you believe it, we're not hospitality, Now, I think, I get told my middle name is hospitality, but I wish someone would tell the government that. And on top of that, but equally, my empathy is also for the brides and grooms. We're not here to sort of, excuse my French, but screw them out of anything. This is people's hard-earned money, and we're here to see it through. Obviously, we need that bridge. We need to be able to trade. To give you an example, I'm 14 months without trading. And by the time I trade in my businesses, it'll be 18 months.
Yeah.
So 18 months with ongoing overheads, ongoing financial commitments. As best a negotiator I am, no business can sustain that indefinitely.
No. And even in the budget, the Chancellor addressed many things, didn't he?
Yeah, he forgot us. He betrayed us.
So yeah, he definitely forgot about that big wedding that he had, didn't he?
Absolutely, absolutely. He totally, I think we're actually seen as collateral damage, which is that basically, we're an afterthought or something happened and you shouldn't have been there and it happened. But, well, look, as long as everything else works out. But that 5 billion industry comprises of not just reputable big businesses, companies who've dedicated their life. I've been in the industry 30 years now. When I left university, I had a job in the city as a merchant bank, and due to my father feeling ill, falling ill. As we discussed last time,
Yeah.
I joined the industry. And you know what? Within this industry, you've got to love it to be in it. It's not something you're going to do. Yes, there's a glitz and glamour to it as well. But unless you're passionate and you lead by example, you cannot expect those people around you to do the same.
No. And most entrepreneurs would say that.
Indeed.
That you've got to love what you do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't work those 18-hour days, would you?
Yeah, well, sometimes, it's more than 18 hours. So I've got the bags to prove it. So
Okay, look. So the government's missed a step.
yeah,
Right, but here we are. Hopefully, it's on Monday. School's open. It's the 8th of March.
yeah,
Right. We hope, and then there's about every 5 weeks there's a step, and again, we criticise where we want to criticise and need to, and
Yeah.
we praise where we do.
yeah.
So we're not pessimists by nature.
No.
So we're optimists, and we're optimistic, and it seems finally, after a year, that the government has some kind of plan to get us out of this.
Yeah, I mean, so whilst I'm critical, I've got to thank Boris Johnson. And I've got to give a big shout out to people like What About Weddings? There's the COVID recovery group. These type of people have, as well as the task force. The task force has done immense amount of work. It's the ask which has been wrong, and the engagement and the representation on it which has been wrong. But we were elated. We were absolutely, if I could do a cartwheel without splitting my trousers, I would have done it. It was absolutely fantastic with, when Boris Johnson, because at least there's a roadmap.
Yeah.
We have always asked for one thing above all. Look, what we're like. We sustain ourselves. We're not going to just lie down. Whatever we need to do. I started my business with $5,000 in my pocket and 3 small children. Yeah. So I know what it's like to struggle.
Look, we're big boys, right? We know there's ups and downs.
Yeah.
So finally, there's a roadmap. So as we said, starts on the 8th of March.
Yeah.
And then it goes on, and various things start opening up.
Yeah.
So I think there's about 5 weeks to each step.
Yeah.
Which again, I think the government's given themselves enough time to adjust, etc.
Sure.
And that our numbers coming down.
Yeah. I mean, my request to everybody out there is please, I feel desperately sorry for the English wedding industry, because the 8 and 15 numbers do not work for them either. And 15 and 30, I beg your pardon. But those numbers don't work for them either, because, there's a commercial reality. You can't actually turn the key to the barn or the wedding venue with 30 guests.
Of course.
It's going to cost you more. And so whilst I have a great deal of empathy there, but I think if we all accept that, okay, June is the ultimate date, the government has to give us some sort of, they've put some caveats in there. They've put, they based it on data, which I understand. Equally, if we're idiots, if we go getting bloody drunk in the pubs, have, loads of people in restaurants, then clearly, like the Eat Out to Help Out, this infection is not going to go away.
That's right.
The R rate is going to increase. And, that's another, while I'm at it, that's another one of my gripes. Because how can, we've, as an association with the Asian Wedding Association, which, I'm one of the founder members, we have asked for parity with hospitality. Don't give us the bloody grants, but give us, treat us with respect. There's this thing where we are treated, where guests are not trusted, that we're all a bunch of morons. We're going to go hugging and kissing, and which is ridiculous. I mean, if you think about it, when you've got a bride's side, you've got a groom's side, okay? All those people are their extended friends and family. They've got their own bubbles within those networks. And so when they actually come together, they're going to be conscious that Nanny Ma can't pass away or Granddad can't get ill because, and again, we've done every risk assessment possible. We've done every contingency in terms of how these venues can be operated safely. My friends at the WVSG, the Wedding Venue Support Group, who've actually phenomenal, the amount of information they've collated. And, the rapid testing, the work they're doing on it as we speak is just beyond, and this is all in their own time. Yes. So, if the government talks to us as adults, shows us the same respect, we'll get through this quicker.
Yes. Well, it's not an even playing field, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, so, that's always been the major
if
sort
that
of...
downstairs was a pub, we could have 1,000 people in there.
Yeah, indeed.
But as a wedding venue, we can only have 30, right?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Which is, I mean, so what's the difference? There's only one difference. There's not a bride and groom in there.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you with me?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I understand, look, we have family businesses which are in the restaurant game. So, I empathise with them because I know the overheads they hold, the staffing they've had to let go. And, it takes years of training to get these people into the fold. So, but, we haven't had a level playing field. If the restaurant industry or the hospitality gets some benefit, I, for one, I celebrate that. I'm delighted because, you know what? They could lose their livelihoods too.
Yes.
So, but just don't forget us. Like the sort of self-employed, don't forget us because we have immense societal, cultural. We add so much value. It's not just the finance, the Chancellor. It's not just the finance. That's just one. Okay. And today, we're a very diverse culture within this, and we all celebrate that fact that the United Kingdom. I mean, in my case, we came from East Africa, and they gave us a home. They're the ones who embraced us. Now, how much more can they do? I'm not sure at this moment. I think there needs to be sort of dedicated, targeted support available to our industry. If, for whatever reason, that is deemed not to be the case, what they will see is, okay, some of us will survive, but they will see clearly, and like in the English industry, a lot of our suppliers, the supply chain within the Indian wedding industry is made up of female employee, people making cakes, making wedding favours, absolutely, chair covers.
Yeah.
And, so there's a lot of people who will lose their livelihood. And that for me is quite, it's not just a female thing. I mean, obviously, look, the males, are doing their bit, but it is a cross-section of representation, and I think that can't be forgotten.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is there's lots of small businesses.
Yeah.
And lots
tertiary enterprises,
Yeah,
so.
and lots of those small enterprises either employ a large proportion of women,
yeah,
or they're indeed run by women.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the creative, the wedding planners,
yes,
the people you see
that's right.
are just,
majority of those are female. It's
absolutely.
just a fact.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So, going forward, so hopefully we keep our fingers crossed that, the roadmap that the Prime Minister's laid out, we can stick to it.
Yeah.
Right?
But we have to help that cause.
Of course.
It can't just be, we can't keep blaming the government. At the end of the day, for now, it's in our hands. It's in our control. If we act like morons, if we think, I went for a walk at the weekend and the weather was beautiful, and there must have been 150 people in front of an ice cream van, not one person with a mask.
Yes.
I mean, I probably look like a proper numpty, but I am walking around with my mask on. But you know what? I think that duty of care, if that's maintained. Look, guys, we've been through this. We've been through the mill, and even let's just. That few months will give us, I believe, I don't think the government will have any choice thereafter.
No. Look, we're coming to the end, right?
Yeah.
So let's...
Well, hopefully I've got to go.
We're coming to the end of this pandemic. We're about to see the back of it.
Yeah.
So I think what your message is that let's not prolong it any longer than necessary. We've suffered.
Indeed.
We've suffered financially, we've suffered emotionally, we've lost loved ones.
Which is the key.
Yeah, and we're all together in that. So coming out of it is a responsibility that we all share.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely. It's a collective responsibility. I mean, this was, I guess in our lifetime, we haven't been through the world wars.
No.
Perhaps you have, but no. But we haven't been through the wars.
I was very young.
No, you weren't around. But, so we've been... but this is our Second World War.
Yes, of course.
This is, look. That said, you've got to put things into perspective. Look at videos in Syria and the other war-torn countries. You see what's happening. But this is, I guess, the closest to what our generation, our children, they will understand in terms of. And I think we need to learn from this. I think we need to be pragmatic, given what's happened. And the path ahead needs to be clear, succinct, and stay safe. That's what we need to do. Stay safe until we can open safely and, get some form of normality back within our lives. I think we're all due that.
We are indeed, aren't we? It's overdue.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's say everything goes well.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're optimists, right?
Eternal optimists.
Yeah, we wouldn't be entrepreneurs otherwise.
No.
So, 21st of June, is it?
21st of June.
21st of June.
Boris Johnson's birthday. No, I don't know. I had a WhatsApp sent to me that was Boris Johnson's birthday, and I thought, cheeky sod. But no, I didn't really. I thought, brilliant, well done.
Okay.
You know, it's that weekend.
It's that weekend, right?
Please don't make it a bank holiday, whatever you do, because we don't want thousands or hundreds of thousands of people out to Brighton Beach.
So you must have read the same thing, that there's some kind of petition going around that they want to make that a bank holiday?
No.
Haven't you been at home for long enough?
yeah, make it a compulsory work on that bloody day.
You know,
forget the furlough. Just say, furlough people, sorry, you can come back, but this day you got to work.
Yeah.
That's a caveat.
Right? So you know...
Me and you should run the country, you know that?
Definitely.
I reckon so.
If anybody's watching that's in control
but you can be... I'd rather you were the Prime Minister.
Do you think?
I think I'd prefer to look like Rishi.
Do you think? Okay, your choice.
I'm pulling your leg.
But look, let's hope, you know, everything comes back and we are here, you know, in the summer.
Sure.
So I've got my first 2 wedding invites, August and September.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. You know what? And it's not just about survival.
Yeah.
I know those brides and grooms, you know, and people have been very patient, I'll be honest with you. And, you know, and I've got to applaud them for that, because they understand that, you know, businesses, I mean, we've had millions wiped away.
Of course.
And, you know, but we're there, we're honourable, we're not going anywhere.
No.
Clearly we need an opportunity to earn, to at least, you know, mitigate some of our losses.
Sure.
For me, it's never about how much money I lost. You know, I heard somewhere it was said that, oh, I've lost this much last year and I lost this much, and that means nothing. You know, think about those people. And also we can't be elitist in our outlook. You know, we've got to, it's those ordinary people who've actually worked ever so hard to provide, you know, you remember parents of our generation, they didn't have flamboyant weddings.
Not at all.
You know, they bloody didn't even see each other before they got married. You know, and some of the relatives did the cooking, but they still had 500-600 people there.
Absolutely.
You know? And that is what defines our culture. That's what separates us. And that needs to be celebrated, it needs to be embraced, and above all, it needs to be represented. Because if you fail to represent that, together we're a fist. Without that, we're nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we will remain disjointed. We'll actually fall into the government narrative that actually, you know, they're too segregated. This industry, we can't understand it because it's too segregated. Well, actually, the principles behind it are the same. We also have to embrace and celebrate the English culture. You know, and that may be the sign of times. That may be the changing of the guard. That may be how weddings will go more and more. And if so, our businesses have to pivot further to actually, again, allow for that to happen. You know, in that, I mean, you know, like your daughter will say, Dad, I want to get married at Lake Como. Why? They don't want your friends there. Well, in fact, when we did your twins' birthday.
That's right.
You know, that wasn't for them, that was for you. No, I'm only joking. But you know what I mean. They'd rather have 20 of their friends and have it, you know, have a big event.
That's a generational thing, right? That's
Indeed.
Always happened.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing new. You know, we argued the same thing with our parents, and that will go on.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing that I was going to come to with you. Do you think that weddings will go back to how they used to be, or do you think this year we've learnt something, and do you think they get bigger because suddenly we realise the value of family, or do you think they'll get smaller because you think, well, we managed that okay during the pandemic?
If truth be told, I think nothing will stay the same after the pandemic. 100% they're not going to get any bigger.
You're right.
That is for sure, because you know, this has actually put so many doubts and thoughts into people's minds, you know, and, you know, I mean, indeed today, and we're championing for this long and hard at the moment, because companies all of a sudden are not giving them wedding insurance. So, you know, I mean, when we used to take bookings, we used to push our clients, not for any gain, we didn't take any commission or anything. It was just, you know, the mantra would be that, look, you wouldn't drive a car without insurance, you wouldn't go on holiday, so why are you laying out 30, 40, 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever, without insurance? And, you know, obviously they've been, you know, so, I mean, I'd like to see going forward some kind of a government support scheme for the insurers, to indemnify, because then that will allow the weddings to stay perhaps at a similar size. No way will they get bigger. I think they will, it will invariably get smaller. But again, I think, I wouldn't want suppliers to be disheartened, because whilst some of our weddings are smaller, the spend is perhaps the same, because
Yes.
it's allowing them to have more than what they would have had, so, I think the per spend will actually rise. And I think that would be something for suppliers to bear in mind.
Okay. So those that haven't got married or have had 5 people, 10 people, 15, do you think they will come back and do the parties that they said that they were going to do?
It's a difficult one, Cam. We have got people who are sort of going to hopefully, fingers crossed, come back. Those who've had, little feet running around nowadays, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah.
But having said that, by definition of how our industry is and how our society, or certainly our cultural backgrounds are, so whether it's a child's first birthday, there's always, and remember, the other difference within our ceremony is always that when you have a wedding, it's not one wedding in a church and then a party afterwards. For us, that celebration goes on for a couple of weeks.
That's right.
We have multiple functions.
Yes.
So I don't think that we're quite ready to... There's a lot of disposable income out there. There's a lot of people who've accumulated a lot of wealth, done extremely well through this period. And, so they will be ready to spend. And I think, but, due diligence, let's get through this final hurdle, be prepared for certain setbacks.
Yes.
But everything is within our grasp and it's in our own control. That's quite a good reassurance to know that your destiny actually can be in your own control. But dedicated support, Chancellor. Give it to people, honestly. There's a lot of business. Will I survive it? I believe I will. But there'll be a lot of businesses out there who will fall at this final hurdle. And that will break my heart. They need that little bridge. Get them through till June. And then, I said before, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. We can't actually... The government, whilst... I believe they have conducted themselves fairly admirably overall. Because, it's unprecedented. Look at the levels of borrowing. They're the highest since, they're in comparative to 2 world wars.
Yes.
And, yesterday, we were talking, there's so much sort of anger towards this corporation tax increases, in a couple of years. And I'm thinking, well, the books have to balance, like in our own businesses.
But do you think that's a misstep? Because I read, Rishi Sunak was very, very for this, we're out of Europe now, we can do our own thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to go for this Singapore-style low taxation economy. Whereas, that was the talk a few months ago. I understand, economics of a country and the fact that bills have to be paid.
Yeah.
But there is a way of doing that, isn't there? So we're going to be one of the highest taxed countries around in terms of corporation tax.
Yeah, it's going to thwart inward investment.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Okay. So, but I think, ultimately, it's the basic economics, isn't it? If you have more money going out than you have coming in,
yes,
the Chancellor has limited options. We still live in national health. And again,
absolutely,
what they've done, oh my God. That's where, I tell you what, my anger towards yesterday's budget is not just about my own industry, but it's about that. Reward those people. I don't want to give them a clap,
No, we're great at that, aren't we? We clapped for them all.
Yeah, forget.
Don't give them £10 in their wages.
Outside and take the credit like some people I know. They love going on TV. Forget that. Reward them where it matters the most, because without them, we would be nowhere. This death toll, the figure now would be doubled. So let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate the success of these people. I, for one, I know, and I'll put this on. I'm going to host a big party for NHS people, and they'll be my guests at this fantastic venue.
Fantastic.
Because you know what, that's just a small way of me saying thank you to them.
So there you go. Email Atul Lakhani if you are a National Health Service worker and want to come to this great party.
Yeah.
So I've put my name down already. So that's it. We're done.
But I said NHS stuff, not OAPs.
So look, how does it feel, to be finally thinking that we can actually work? Because lots of businesses are being closed, right? not just the wedding
Yeah.
industry. There's loads of
Yeah.
frustration. And as you said, a lot of self-employed people totally miss the benefits,
Yeah.
right? And huge industries that just not being covered.
No.
Look, not everything can be covered.
No.
With the best will in the world,
Sure.
no chancellor of any country can blanket us all with pound notes.
But remember, one thing, whilst I agree with that, but remember there's a £15 billion industry there within the wedding.
No, I agree
the
with
cultural, societal importance.
Yeah.
That's a big boo-boo.
Yes.
And you know what? The government does need to, whether it's going forward, even if they consider it in a few months' time and think that, look, we missed out, we made a mistake here.
Yeah.
Then go back to it. Only put your hand up and say, look, we were wrong in this.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Do you think, now we've done the budget,
Yeah.
so that's his big opportunity, isn't it, to address
Yeah.
certain things?
Yeah.
So he's extended furlough,
Yeah.
and he's done whatever he needs to do with taxation.
Yeah.
See, my own industry in terms of property,
Yeah.
I could never understand why estate agents, letting agents needed to be open. I could never understand why we needed a stamp duty holiday.
Sure.
And now it's been extended.
Yeah.
So now the government's Help to Buy scheme by another name has come back.
Yeah.
So there must have been incredible lobbying on somebody's part to say estate agents and letting agents can stay open.
Yeah.
So, so there's been very uneven
Yeah. Indeed.
in
Indeed.
how these things have been dealt with.
Yeah. But, if truth be told, Cam, we do need certain things to act as catalysts for economic stimulus. And if you think of a buoyant housing market, and Narendra Nijar, you owe me a lot of money for this, a buoyant housing market, the employment that it creates.
Yeah.
Remember, we need to, we're at the bottom of the curve at the moment. We need a consumer-led demand to actually, and again, I celebrate that, the fact that first-time buyers, are getting this support. Obviously, we've all got to look at the fine print, but it's, and I was in a meeting once, and I'll just say this quickly, and there was somebody, I think it was a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and somebody said, "Oh, Atul, I'm really sorry." Because they've been talking about this fantastic development within the hospitality, the pub, it was one of our local Everard's breweries. And I said, don't be sorry. I said, because look, if they don't do well, we need people to shine through this pandemic.
Of course.
Because if we all struggle, then we'll all die.
Yes.
If those people actually do well, some of that will rub off, some of that positivity, they're the people, one thing this pandemic has taught me, Cam, it's camaraderie, relations, the number of people I've met through this, that holds very dear to me. The contacts I've made, the people, random people who rang me to say, look, if you need some help, I've got some money lying around. And I thought, that's something. That's something.
Well, it's magnified personalities, hasn't it?
Indeed.
So whatever you do, it has been put under the spotlight, and people are doing more of it. So those that are charitable have been more charitable, haven't they?
Yeah.
Right? And
we do need to get back to, I know you're not using it in that context, but some of our dear friends, who are in charities, that sector's suffered dramatically.
Absolutely.
They need that. There's a charity which is very dear to my heart. There's two, in fact. There's the Healing Little Hearts and then also the Molly Ollie. It's all children charities. And, they've seen no revenue.
No.
And, what they do actually determines how many people are going to have a heart operation, how many people are going to, survive, or how many people in their final days are going to get those final wishes.
Yes.
And when you see that, that makes me even more focused. So, it makes me even more determined to come through this so that I can go back to supporting those causes because they're very dear to me.
Yeah, and that's where I was coming from. Why do we need a stamp duty holiday for one industry when we're taking this away? So, property prices have been going up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
And all it's done is fueled those.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes what happens is the very people that it's trying to help are the people because prices will just jump that little bit. We have a massive shortage of property in this country.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't think of it that way. Actually, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay. So so what happens?
It's going to create further inflationary pressures on that, isn't it?
It already has.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So estate agency reporting prices going up and up and up.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing we needed in that particular sector.
Yeah.
I agree with you that, housing is very important.
Sure.
And for those that are trying to get on the ladder.
Yeah.
But why? So in a
I suppose I was thinking from the building industry.
yes, of course.
In terms of the, what was Boris Johnson's mantra? Build, build, build.
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
And I sound like him nowadays. I don't look like
just
him.
don't go blonde.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is, why then, in a period when we went to pull in the purse strings, do you then suddenly give all this away? That was my point. So all of these industries are suffering. You're going to raise taxation for all of us. Yeah. And then in the middle of all that, they've had this stamp duty.
How long has the stamp duty been extended?
It's now been extended till the end of June.
Right, but if you. Yeah, so clearly they're trying to fuel demand till then.
Yes.
Okay, so he's not extended it indefinitely or until the end of the year.
No.
So, but this, remember the fiscal stimulus that he's put in to the economy. Okay. Mind you, then again, that's a contradiction in itself because the stamp duty is a great way for the government to use revenue.
Why do you need to stimulate the housing market in particular? Why single out one industry to stimulate?
Well, because young people have suffered in this pandemic. They've been the first to lose their jobs. Remember, as a businessman, who are you going to get rid of? Are you going to get rid of the one who's been with you for 20 years?
Yeah.
Or the new recruits?
So they won't be buying houses anyway?
Yeah.
Up to £600,000? That's not a starter home.
No, this is a bit unfair because, you're a former estate agent, entrepreneur with your properties and so on. You're talking to someone who has to think a bit more about this. But no, I get that. I see your argument. Yeah.
See, the thing is, rising house prices don't actually benefit us. They make us feel good.
No, absolutely.
All it does is it increases the debt that you owe to own that house. Yeah. So you then end up servicing that debt. Yeah. So the only people that benefit from that are the builders that sell you the house and the banks that loan you the money.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's strange for a property man to be saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it would benefit our economy if house prices halved tonight.
Yeah, but
it would make us so
happen.
much more mobile. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? It's the same house.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, why is it worth 4 times?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And the only difference is you still get the same benefit from that house, but the debt that we owe as individuals just keeps increasing.
I mean, it was interesting. I was on one of these clubhouse things, and which was organised by DJH from Kudos. And it was really interesting. One of the chaps on there who obviously specialises in finance, etc., and he mentioned this very fact that, when a lot of people, first-time buyers, they're actually buying that, they're already in huge negative equity by the time they put their deposits down, as you said, the stamp duties, etc. So maybe, if you look at it conversely, that may be, that reduces that debt element, So, but this is a chat we're going to have again,
Why not?
But I'm going to do a bit more research next time over there.
Well, look. We have had a wonderful discussion, very varied. Thank you for having us.
No, Kam, it's always a pleasure. Look, we go back a long way. We're dear friends. And, by the way, your shows are fantastic.
Thank you so much.
It's so varied. It's, the guests you have from huge entrepreneurs to people who do some amazing performances. In fact, we've had some of them here. And, I take my hat off to you, my friend. That it's good. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. I know for you, you're usually successful in your day job, and this is something which you do not just out of passion or self-promotion. It's something you feel passionate that you want to hear people's stories. Yeah. And I thank you today for the opportunity to at least, I hope that to some of the suppliers, some of the people in our wedding industry, all I just would like to end by saying is that please don't give up hope. No. There is hope. There's hope around the corner. Yeah. Certainly, I mean, our models are changing. We, like me as a business, I'm going to be engaging with a lot more suppliers. Brilliant. I want to make sure that we are altruistic in our outlook and support these people. And I think if one thing it's brought home is that we all are interdependent, aren't we? Just because 100%. They're your suppliers or you're supplying somebody, no. We all fail together and we all succeed together, right? That supply chain has now become a family chain. Good. and long may that continue, and we will grow that. You know, you have my word that as long as I am running the business as I am,
Brilliant.
I will ensure that I do that.
So that's a learning point for us and something that we're going to benefit from, right?
Yeah.
So coming back to the show, the idea was, and you were here the very first show, was to highlight people that are doing great work in our own community.
Yeah.
Who don't get called up by the mainstream TV stations, etc., etc., etc. Maybe they don't think we're important enough or big enough, bit like the wedding industry.
Sure.
But, you know, Sunday community, there's some amazing people doing some amazing work.
Absolutely.
And, you know, you had a little bit of banter with my guest from last week, Sukrandava.
Yeah, it was,
by the way, you were fabulous. And
excellent, so well done.
But, you know, she said something.
There.
We were speaking about, you know, and most of my guests are quite reluctant to come on because my story, are you sure about this?
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing is, if one person learns something, if one person sitting on a sofa today learns something and says, I'm going to go and do this, I think, you know what, that's success for me.
Yeah. I must admit, your guests, you know, you're so right. And each one of them have a unique and different story to tell. And I know that I've actually learned, you know, I've developed my own skill set from actually listening to some of these people and thinking, oh, you know, I remember Kamal Hoti, I think.
Beautiful lady, yes.
You know, there's so many, Ranjit Taliwal, the guy from Khalsa Aid.
Yes. Ravi Singh.
Ravi Singh.
Yes.
You know, and so, look, you know, the future's bright. Let's get through this. Let's maintain that camaraderie we built through this period.
Fantastic.
Because, you know what? That will have all been worth it then. It'll be a new world and a new beginning. But hopefully the Kam Johal Show will continue. You know, don't lose this guy.
We're going to go from strength to strength. You know, time waits for no man. We've had a wonderful show. I think the friendship that Atul and I has come through. It's not been like an interview, and they never are, to be honest with you. So, you know, बहुत shukriya that you've joined us today and the time that you give us. I hope that you're benefiting from what we're talking about. If there's anything that you'd like us to cover or a guest that you want us to have on the show, quite welcome. Contact me. You can find me on any of the social media channels, and we will be back next week from our studio in West Brom. So thank you very much for watching. Sat Sri Akal dono saryan nu, and we'll see you next week, Thursday, live at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Sat Sri Akal ji, namaste.
Done?
Yeah.